Welcome once again to our midweek MIDrash. We're so kind of you to join us, and the invitation is always open. So come in, sit down a spell, and kick up your feet, and relax. The next hour, you might need to buckle up your seats to get ready for what we're doing tonight. We are continuing our journey through Psalm 139, which is an amazing journey. I'm sure, if you're familiar with it, you know all about it. If not, then it's a wonderful discovery for you because it is quite fantastic. And as I've been doing, just a little reacquaintance thing, that Psalm 139 is 24 verses, but it's broken up into 4 separate sections. There are 4 different paragraphs of 6 verses each, and each paragraph concludes with a couplet that elaborates on each of the unit's central themes. And so that's what that's all about. I'm just trying to get that on the TV. I think we're good. And so we've already covered the first 6 verses, which speaks of his omnipresence, that his omniscience, rather, his knowledge of all things. And the second grouping at 7 to 12, his presence is everywhere. That's his omnipresence. And 13 to 18, we see the unique, intimate relationship he has in forming mankind. And so that's really wonderful. And the poetic language that's used in this is really amazing and very intimate in its workings. Yes. And then the final 19 to 24 describes his unique kadoshness and the fact that he is uniquely connected with his people, and we work together, and the insults that fall upon him fall upon us, and so we are echad with our Creator, and we don't take kindly to anyone maligning our wonderful, loving Savior. So we're going to get into all of that in the weeks to come, Yah willing, and we will get started in just a moment. I was going to ask our brother Gilbert, who's back with us this week, if you can say the opening prayer. This looks terrible, Mama. Looks terrible.
And Bob, Hank just signed on. Maybe we can give Hank a welcome. Welcome, Hank.
Welcome, Hank. Yes. Amen.
Divine and most merciful Father, we give you thanks and praise once more to be in your presence this evening. Father, I ask that you guide us, dear Father, as we proceed this evening, Psalms 139.
Yes, Lord.
May you bless both Brother Bob and Brother Herman, dear Father, who is host and co-host. And bless those who are with us this evening, Father. We thank you for all the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Once more, we give you all honor, glory, and praise in Messiah's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Pardon me for the little disruption there. I need somebody with hedge clippers to come on over. In the meantime, I got myself bundled up a little bit back there. But thank you so much, Gil, for your wonderful prayer as we enter into the realm of the Ruach and allow the Most High to speak to us. And at this time, we also introduce once again, Herman. Thank you so much for being with us and joining forces for this study.
You're quite welcome, Bob. You're quite welcome. Bob, I would like to read. William, you just signed on. Welcome, William, and Hank as well.
Shalom, shalom.
Yes, I'd like to read it if it's okay with you. I'd like to read verses 13, 14, and 15. I'm going to be reading from the Complete Jewish Bible. Then I'd like to review some of the material that I touched on last week, which was on verse 14. Okay, so that's what I'd like to do.
Thank you, Mom.
So from the Complete Jewish Bible, verses 13, 14, and 15, it says, "For you fashioned my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I thank you because I am awesomely made, wonderfully. Your works are wonders. I know this very well. And then the verse for today, my bones were not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. I like that. Intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Beautiful poetic language there.
Amen.
So that's verses 13, 14, and 15. And if I can just get to the screen here, so I can do a quick review on what we covered last week.
Sleep at the wheel. Sorry about that. Badunga.
Okay. So here we have a review of verse 14 and just a few of the points, of course. I stated last week that the main thrust of verse 14 is praise and amazement, which we just read. And the reason for that is because David is created fearfully and wonderfully. It's in a manner that is to produce reverence, yareh, and it's also to produce awe. It uses the same word, yareh. Okay. And one of the things that I said, which was touching to me, is that how beautiful it would be if we would always see ourselves in that manner as a wondrous work from the hands of the Lord. We should train our minds and remind ourselves of that truth.
Yes.
I also stated that since we're so amazingly complex, the body really, really is complex, that physicians have to specialize in an area of medicine. And in many cases, physicians have to subspecialize within an area. That's how complex our bodies are. Then I jumped into the verbal system of roots and stems, okay, the binyan, the binyanim. And I stated that the roots are built upon, right? Because you either add a prefix and infix, and then with the vowel pointing, you build on that root, and then you'll get the particular form of the verb, whether it's an active verb, a passive verb, like the one that we saw three nifals, which are passive, or a reflexive verb, where the person does the action to himself or herself. And as I said, the one that I focused on was on the nifal stem, which is a passive verb. Sometimes, depending on the context, it could be reflexive. Okay. And the feature of the nifal is the nun prefix, and we're going to see that again. The nun prefix, and usually it has an e and an a. Nifal. So the vowel pointing is important to detect. And as I said, if you learn the names of these stems, PL, Pual, Nifal, Hofal, if you learn those names, if you memorize those names, you're going to see the vowel pointing and you'll be able to pick up the type of verb that it is. We're going to see some Puals, which are also passive in verse 15. I shared this chart. There were two charts, but I'm just going to share one this time, that Hebrew can be broken down into, as I said, active, passive, and reflexive. And here are the different verb forms. Nifal was the one I touched on. We're going to see two puals, which are also passive. And notice the nun prefix with the er, the vowel pointing of er. And then when we'll see the pual, you're going to see that it has a ua. Okay, so it has, those are the vowel pointing that goes with the three-letter root to build upon that root. Ua. So keep that in mind. All right. So as a matter of fact, here's our verse today. Look at this. Rukamti. Right? There's the ua. You see it there, Bob? Ua for the pual. Ua. Rukamti.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and look at the nifal here in our verse. Okay, ni, there's the nun prefix with the e, and there's the a. Nichad. Yeah.
I just saw that as you were talking about it. I was
Yep.
looking. It says that's right at the beginning of our verse.
That's correct. So these are the hints. And when you learn, as I said, if you learn nifal, you'll see that. And of course, there are exceptions, especially when they're gutturals. There's a changing in the vowel pointing. But if you learn that, you'll pick up on it. Okay, so there it is once again. E, ni, the nun prefix, ni, a, nifal, and here's the rukamti, u, a. with the dagish for the pual. Okay, here we have another pual here, but as opposed to the patak, it has a sere, but still the u with the dagish, the doubling dagish. Okay, so that's what I touched on last week. I added a few things now, and Bob, we can just leave the screen on, and you can go through the verse.
Indeed. Okie dokie. Okay. Let's do that. And we begin with lo. Let me just get myself together here. And we see the makaf in a couple of spots here where two words essentially become one. Echad. So lo, nichad, not was hidden. Okay, not was hidden. Okay, not lo. Lo is always no. The commandments, lo, thou shalt not, simple lo. You know, you look at your child and he doesn't understand thou shalt not, but he'll understand lo. Lo. Simple. Very much to the point. Lo, nich, chad. And it comes from the word kachad. Kachad, which is to conceal, to hide, to keep secret. And in this case, it's not a secret. Not a secret for everyone, or is it specifically not a secret for one? And the next word is atzmi. Atzmi. My frame is what was not hidden. Okay? Not hidden. What was not hidden? The frame of me, my frame. And otse, otsem is the word here in its full form, which is substance. The root of that is to bind fast, that which is bound together, put together like a complex puzzle. Because remember last week we were looking at how fearfully we were made, and I made the point that we who revere and fear Yah, he reveres the process, and essentially he reveres and respects us in the process. It's not an assembly line. It's not like, where things are going at light speed. He takes all the time. He doesn't cut out any stages that need to be maintained. As we just said in that last verse, intricately. I think you used the translation last week that used the word embroidered. So skillfully, intricately wrought together and embroidered. Okay, so our frame, our bones,
correct,
our bones, the substance of who we are. When we're buried, we're put in the tomb, we're wrapped up and put in the tomb, and years later, our bones are collected and put in ossuaries, which are like boxes within the tomb. So it's very much consolidation and honoring our remains, that they don't get scattered, they're put together. Okay, so our substance, our frame. It's interesting. Each not what's not hidden, what's not hidden. The frame of me. Okay, the frame of me. Who is it not hidden from? And it's mimecha, from you. Okay, my frame, and again, if we look at the substance and that which is bound fast, is the inner workings, the visceral matter that we're composed of. If we want to go to the depth of the bones, we don't see our skeletons unless we do X-rays, right? Or do some kind of a process like that. So he knows the inner workings of mankind, and he judges on the inner workings, and that's the spiritual aspect also, because obviously he doesn't judge by our skeletal structure either, or by the positioning of our internal organs, which might vary from person to person. You get a little bit larger heart, a little bit smaller kidneys, or whatever. So that's still physical matter. But Messiah, Yahuwah, the eternal Father, he looks at the inward makings, the makeup of the man, that which is we looked at that phrase in weeks gone by, where it's the reins, the kidneys, the seat of emotion, which is the mind, which is the heart, which is who we are, our the spiritual man, the one that will be eternal, will be undying. It's not appointed for man to be subject to wrath, but to be judged is appointed for each man to die once, and there will be those who will die twice. The second death is what we try to avoid. Okay, and we have to make sure that we are on the right path for life. Even as Deuteronomy 30 teaches us, that blessings and cursings are in two distinct paths. The cursings is death, is darkness. Light and life are on the other side. And Yah even tells us this day, choose life. Choose life. Make the better choice.
Choose life.
Don't rush. We have all life. For the amount of time that we have here, we have the opportunity to make that decision. And we do it not just intellectually and not just emotionally, but with the idea of who we are serving. Are we serving ourselves? Are we serving the adversary, which is basically one and the same? Or are we serving Yah, the higher calling, in which when we serve him, we're serving ourselves also. We're serving our better interests. We're serving our potential as well. So my frame, my form, that which was bound together fast, was not hidden from you. Okay? The second line, again, another makef, is asher useti. Useti. I didn't see the vowel point there. Useti. When I was made, an asa is to make, to construct. When I was skillfully wrought, I was appointed, I was accomplished. When I was accomplished, it's an interesting concept. When I was accomplished, he just doesn't make us fearfully and delicately and intricately, but he makes us and he accomplishes the net result who we are. We are an accomplishment. We are something special. We are amazing. We're not just fearfully and wonderfully made. The net result is fearful and wonderful. The process described in our making does not go away once we are completed. And we know now that when we come out of the womb, we enter into life and we keep his commandments. And we know that when we enter into life, we have some decisions to make in the process. Do we acknowledge this process or just kind of shrug it off? Because David is definitely dwelling on it in this third section to remind himself of the humble beginnings. And David was elevated to the highest position. He wanted to build a house for Yah, and Yah says, look, where am I going to live? Am I homeless? Am I going to sleep in the streets? But because you have the desire to build me a home, a place where I can dwell and belong, I will make a house for you. I will make a household for you. And we see this later on with the kings that were less faithful. He says, look, I'm going to do this for David's sake. You're not going to get what's coming to you for his sake. And David had the heart for Yah. He had the heart for Yah. And he loved Yah, and Yah recognized in him something special. So when I was made, when I was accomplished, I hear a melody. Where's that song coming from?
Yes, it's a melody of your teaching, bro.
You don't hear the music?
Yes, it was. Unfortunately, it was Gladys's phone. But,
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll take that as the melody of your teaching.
Okay, as opposed to the malady of my teaching.
Well, hey, I don't want not that melody.
It's amazing how one letter can change everything, right?
Yeah, yes.
So when I was accomplished, va se tem, vaseter, right? Vaseter, in the secret place, which is sitra. Sitra is the word. Seter almost sounds like seder, which is order, which would have been a good word here also, right? When I was accomplished in order, but it's not what he's saying here, but it still sounds like it wouldn't be a bad substitute word. When I was accomplished in the secret place, okay? When I was made in secret, okay? Because I was I was not hidden from you, but for everyone else, it's a secret place. It's a secret place. Our secret place, Messiah told us that when we pray, we don't pray in the open to try to gather attention and make us think that he says, be humble. When you pray to me in your secret places, then I will answer you openly. So we humble ourselves in his sight, and he exalts us. He lifts us up. And when we give ourselves of him, he gives himself to us. And we share the path. We share the responsibilities and the focus of life in this world that we're living right now. So when I was accomplished in the secret place, okay, then it goes into the third line. Okay, we got to mute the phone so we don't have 15 versions of me speaking. Okay. Rukamti, or Rukamti, I think, right, Rukamti. I was woven together, I was wrought together. Rakam is the word, which is curiously fabricated, embroidered, the same word that's used in verse 13, okay? Like needlework, embroidered. And you think of they didn't have silk screening back in the days of the Bible. Everything was intricately made. The threads were gathered together, and they were on a mill, they were on a wheel, they were woven, and beautiful art work was created as a result, and amazing things were done. Spinning and toiling. Okay, so rukam ti, I was woven together, skillfully, wrought, embroidered, intricately. Okay. Batach ti tivot. Betach tivot. In the depths of. Tachti is the lowest point, the depths. Figuratively, it's used as the pit or the womb. Okay, the depths. The idea of mankind and the ascent of man. The evolutionists believe we started as pond scum and we grew upwards to be the pinnacle of evolved life forms, whatever. But man is ascending. He's ascending. He's growing up. But in the creation of man, when Yah saw that we were tov and that we were intricately and wonderfully made and accomplished, that we fell, and we had to get right with Yah, and he had to invite us into the process of getting right with him once again, and that we would be going from the depths to the heights, from the zenith to nadir, and nadir to zenith. Okay, skillfully wrought in the lowest parts, okay, in the depths of haaretz, of the earth, the land, or the earth, and of course using metaphor here, that life will prevail. Life is stronger than death. Death cannot contain us. It's a phase. It's part of the process of life. Just like the kid who doesn't want to go to bed. You got to go to bed. If you don't sleep, if you don't achieve REM, and you go on for days and days and days, you can die. Your body absolutely needs the rest. It needs that time, that secret time away from consciousness, so you can be in his realm where he can talk with us. And when we're at our most vulnerable, many of us have these dreams where we can acknowledge his presence or get inspiration. I mean, I've woke up in the middle of the night several times with messages and just stayed up and would write streams of consciousness, paragraphs into pages, and I just give him thanks for that, for the inspiration to be inspired. He breathes to us, and we inhale him. He breathes into us the breath of life. As he exhales, we breathe in, And as long as, and it's you can't really get a biologist to explain why we breathe or why we live and why do we run down. We have Newton's second rule of thermodynamics, which is that things degrade over time. But why? Why does that happen? Why? Why do we degrade? Once we've been made, we weren't made but because sin entered the world, we do degrade. We do degrade, and it becomes the depths of the earth. We were woven into the depths so that we can leap forward and leap upward to our rightful position in the eternal Yah, if we maintain the integrity of His word and His purposes in our lives. So I have I'm going to pass it back to Harm, but I have some notes regarding the depths of the earth and the secret places, the depths, the secret places. Yoshev Besater Elyon, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And I will say to Yahuwah, you're the rock, you are my strength, you are my Yud-He Vav-He, you are my Elohim, the one in whom I trust. So we dwell in the secret place, under His wings, His loving wings, as the parent bird protects and conceals the eggs. She just doesn't sit on the eggs to sit on something comfortable or to warm them. But when she's sitting on them, you can't see them. Just like Rachel, when she wanted to conceal the idols of her father, she sat on them. Okay, see one way to do it. Okay, happy face from William. Okay. So the secret place, the cover, the covert, sitra, or vaseter. Okay, the womb is the secret place that conceals. Okay, together with the depths of the earth, darkness and separation from active life and living, the full potential being formed. So both terms can be used to the place of the dead also. Let me read a couple verses there also, and I'll pass it over to Herman. Okay, Psalm 63:9. But those who seek my life to destroy it shall go down to the lower parts of the earth. So they will fall into their own traps. It's like the oblivion. It's the transitional place where we are made, or remade, or fashioned, or undone. Okay, Job 14:13. Oh, that you would hide me in the grave, that you would conceal me until your wrath is past, that you would appoint me a set time and remember me. So Yov is hinting at the awakening. Hide me while, we're not appointed for wrath. Remember, that's what the word says. But he is, his fullness of his wrath is coming, people. And we have to make sure we're on the right side of this battle. Amen. And hide me while this goes on. Wake me up when it's over. I don't want to see it. I want to hide me until it's over. Isaiah 44:23. Sing, O heavens, for Yahuwah has done it. Shout, you lower parts of the earth. Break forth in singing, you mountains, O forest and every tree in it. For Yahuwah has redeemed Yaakov, Jacob, Israel, and glorified himself in Israel, the fully reunited Israel, the northern and southern kingdoms, with whom he made the Brit Chadashah, the new covenant, with the house of Jacob, with the house of Ephraim. Sing, O heavens, for Yahuwah has done it. Shout, you lower parts of the earth. Break forth in singing, O you mountains. So we're in the lower parts of the earth, in the life, the living state that we have without Yah. We're just existing. We're not fully living. If we're in the lower parts of the earth, we break forth. Just like death, we break forth into life. We break forth into singing. And I did a message that I'm working on about praise, sing praise. It sounds like a cliche, right? And singing and praising are not mutually exclusive terms. They work together. And singing praise, and how music is so essential to life. Everything. I think we hinted on this last week a little bit. I think that was what might have started me on this message, that everything is musical. Everything is set apart as beautiful. And just like we talked about when we read the Siddur, it's all melodic. We have the scriptures written out for us with vowel points and cantorial indications as far as up or down or how we sing. When we make aliyah to go up and read from the Torah or from the Haftorah, we have our pointer and we sing the verse. We sing the verse. Nobody reads or within the Hebraic mindset of appreciating the flow of the poetry. It's all sung. It's a beautiful song. There's a whole book in the scriptures, the Psalms, 150 songs. People forget these are beautiful. Psalm 139 is what we're working on, but this is lyrics to a magnificent song. A magnificent song. And David has the reputation of being the chief psalmist. He didn't write them all. In fact, you'll be surprised the ones that he didn't write. Oh, I thought that was David. I like that one so well. Don't like it any less because he didn't write it, but appreciate that there was contributions across the swath of tzaddikim, of righteous ones, of kadoshim, of holy ones, who had that unique connection with their creator that they could sing and make melody in their heart. I'm looking at Isaiah 45:19. Okay, I have not spoken in secret in the dark place of the earth. I did not say to the seed of Yaakov, seek me in vain. I, Yahuwah, speak righteousness. I declare things that are right. Wow. Isn't that beautiful? That's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. I have not spoken in secret in the dark place of the earth. I did not say to the seed of Yaakov, Israel, seek me in vain and in vanity. No, of course not. The word doesn't return void. Nothing is vain in Yah. Okay, I, Yahuwah, speak righteousness, and I declare things are right. So speaking righteousness, declaring things, and right. Again, we see that clear parallelism right there. And how beautiful is the word that is preserved for us this day. Wow. It's wonderful, wonderful. So let me leave you with the opportunity to share a little bit, and I got a couple more things to share after that. But go right ahead, my friend.
Alrighty. So the concept of the frame, as you said, Bob, is that David is referring to his skeletal frame, his bones, that part of his body that gives strength to the body, which is the skeletal frame. And of course, in that time, it was hidden. That being that was growing inside the womb was hidden from the human eye. But nowadays, because of the technology, believe it or not, due to high resolution ultrasound imaging, doctors can see, parents can see inside the womb now and actually see the bones. And I have a few images where I'm going to show that I picked up from the internet. It is absolutely amazing. So we can see. Back then, the bones could not be seen, but we could see them now because as the fetus is growing, the skin is translucent. You can actually see it with the ultrasound. And I have a few images, as I said. So, and made in secret, right? He is made, the action is being done to him. So it's passive, the pu'al, as I mentioned, right? And of course, the line is referring to the womb, right? The womb, which is the secret place. However, there is another secret place where David existed, and that secret place was in the infinite mind of the Lord. So yes, David existed in his mother's womb, but before then, he existed in another secret place in the infinite mind of the Lord. Think about that. And so do you, and so did I. We existed in his mind, and then eventually was materialized, right, in this realm. And as you mentioned, Bob, the rakam, that weaving, that embroidery, which is beautiful. Okay, embroidery is a very beautiful thing. You go online and you take a look at embroidered work. It's really, really beautiful. And I also have a picture that I like to share of an embroidered work. Okay, because it really is a skillful thing and it's beautiful art. When I was studying this and thinking about the embroidery, Bezalel and Oholiab came to my mind because these were the men that were gifted artisans. The Lord put the spirit of an artisan in them to help Moses build a tabernacle. And among the many things that these people did, Bezalel and Oholiab, they worked the priest's garments. They did the veil, which had embroidery of the cherubim in it. So it was a beautiful work for glory and for honor. Of course, they were not the only ones. There were others as well. But it reminded me of Bezalel and Oholiab, and they're mentioned in Exodus in the building of the tabernacle. Okay, and that's how we have to see ourselves, as an embroidered work from the hands of the Lord, right? Because as David said, he was embroidered. Now we all heard of the title King of Kings and Lord of Lords, right? But I think now we can add a new one to it, and that's Embroiderer of Embroiderers. Right, so that's another title, because as David was embroidered, okay, and excuse me, as the Lord put the spirit of an artisan in these men that gave them the ability to embroider, the Lord is the best of embroiderers. So, as I said, he is not only King of Kings and Lord of Lords, he is the embroiderer of embroiderers. Okay, let me go down to the notes here. A lot of the things you've already stated regarding the poetry of being in the lowest parts of the earth. So I'm going to just move on to that. And so I'm going to go into the grammar, Bob, since a lot of the points that I was going to share you already touched on, so there's really no need to go on and repeat that. So I want to touch a little bit on the grammar. And let me go to the slides here. And go to the PowerPoint. Please let me know, Bob, when it's completely on the screen there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there is our verse. It's 3 lines. And as I have shared before, here is the punctuation. The punctuation here, the Athnak here, and the Siluk, and in this case it comes across as a comma, and period. Okay, the Ole, Wayored, Athnak, and the Siluk. Now keep in mind, this vertical bar here is not to be confused with this one. This is a metheg, and although it looks the same, the metheg is just to open the syllable. Okay, so it would be be tachtiyot. So the metheg is different from the siluk, even though they look exactly the same. So here are some images. Here are some images done with ultrasound, where you can actually see the bones of the fetus. And that's pretty amazing, the technology that the Lord has allowed us now. Of course, this did not exist in David's day. But we can now, because of the technology that the Lord has given us, we can actually see the bones growing, that skeletal frame. And the next image that I'd like to share is an embroidered work. Take a look at that embroidery. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. The colors and the detail, the skill. It's fantastic. All right. And as I said, the Lord put the spirit of an artisan in these men, and they were able to weave and work the priestly garments, the veil. It's just amazing. So let's go here to this word in the first line, otzmi. Keep in mind here that this is what you would call a kametz katan. Some people say a kametz hatuf. So it's a short O sound. So it will be pronounced otzmi, otzmi. Okay, my bones or my frame, my skeletal frame, otzmi, otzem. Okay, and the way that we determine this is that it's in a closed, unaccented syllable. I think in verse 17, we're going to see the same word in a different form, but it has accent. But in this case, let me get the cursor here. It is in a closed, unaccented syllable, and that's one of the keys in distinguishing it from the ah sound. Now, of course, there's always exceptions, like in all languages, but in this case, it would be pronounced otzmi. We see another example of this in the following verse. Next week, we hope to touch on verse 16, and we see the same thing here, golmi, a closed, unaccented syllable. You see it there in the bottom in verse 16. That's another example of a kametz katan or a kametz hatuf. Okay, remember way back when in verse 7, when I talked about the inseparable preposition in verse 7, this is verse 7 here. We have the mean here and the mean here, remember? Remember that I said the noon disappears and then there's compensation. So we see the same thing here. In the last word of the first line, mimeka, the noon here is assimilated and we see it hinted in the dagish. So there's compensation going on, and the compensation is in the dagish of the mem. Right? And also notice the dagish inside the kaf sofit. Okay, so it will be pronounced mimeka. According to the Masoretic vocalization, it will be mimeka as opposed to mimecha. Okay, so there you have the dagish inside there, and it's the dagish lene to distinguish, and it's a variant spelling of this here, of the kaf with the kametz and the hey. It's a variant spelling. So the last line, the third line here, where it says, and skillfully wrought or skillfully embroidered in lowest parts of the earth here, I want to focus on the word aretz, because earth is usually eretz. Eretz is a segulate noun, accented on the first syllable, eretz. Okay? But when the word eretz is in pause, and we see it in pause here by the siluk, when it is in pause, the segol is heightened to a kametz. And although, as I said, although the word is normally eretz, it is heightened to a kametz, and hence it becomes aretz. Okay, we see that also in the Genesis, in the beginning of Genesis, Hashamayim ve haaretz, because it's in pause. Now, I have another example of this. It's a classic example. We're all familiar with this verse in Exodus 21:24, commonly known as the lex talionis, the eye for the eye. Now, look, check this out here. When it comes to the heightening, check out this verse here in Exodus 21:24. It says, let me get the cursor here, ayin tachet ayin. And by the way, the word tachat here, tachat is related to this word here, tachtiyot. It's related. It's a different meaning, but it's related. So notice the verse here in Exodus 21:24. Ayin tachat ayin, an eye for an eye. Shein tachat shein, a tooth for a tooth. Yod tachat yod, a hand for a hand. Now look at this. Regel, the segulate noun, notice accented on the first syllable. Regel tachet ragal. Notice the heightening there because it is in pause. So as you're reading through the text and you see a word that is normally not pronounced that way, notice the vowel pointing, whether it's an athnak or a siluk, and you may find a slightly different spelling. And that's that with the grammar. Okay, Bob, I'm going to hand it over to you. Okay, if you have any questions, I may try to answer them. If you have any questions on the grammar, anything I touched on.
Yeah, I'm still impressed by that phrase you said earlier about our existing in the mind of Elohim.
Oh, yes.
I think that's wonderful. We generally don't, it says, well, where were we during the Civil War, or during the war, or during the the various explorations, or going back to the time of the temple? Where were we? What do we say? A glimmer in the eye of our dads, right? But where do our dads come in? So
We
where
were
does it begin? Where does this
infinite mind. Inside the Lord's infinite mind already existed. And that's the thing, man. He has this information in his mind, and eventually it's materialized in this realm. That's a fascinating thing.
Oh,
It's
really?
fascinating.
It really is. And it should be, We should never let our amazement of Yah ever diminish. That's why when people overuse the phrase awesome, why that's awesome. No, it's nothing compared to who Yah is. He is an awesome Elohim.
Yes.
And again, that secret place, whether it's in the depths of the earth or in the womb, is a place of transition, life, death, resurrection. It can be used for either occasion, as we just seen. Man comes from dust and ultimately returns to dust.
Yes.
I'm going to look at a couple verses.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Pardon the interruption, but since you're
Hello.
mentioning that the man goes back to the dust, keep in mind that poetically the tomb becomes the second womb, where we then come up out of. And in English, it kind of rhymes, so it's interesting that the tomb becomes the second womb.
Yeah. Interesting. Really interesting. I'm looking at Bereshit, looking at Genesis 3:19. In the sweat of your face you shall eat your bread till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. Adam from Adamah, the
Correct.
red clay, the dirt from the dirt. Okay, Adamah. Let's see, at the end of his days. Okay, Psalm 90, verse 3. You return man to destruction, and say, return, O children of men. Ecclesiastes 3:20 and 12:7 says, all go to one place. All are from the dust. All return to dust. Then the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the Ruach, the spirit, will return to Elohim who gave it. The womb is the deep secret place where we are formed and so enter into life and keep the commandments. We said earlier. Verse 13 then goes on to say in Ecclesiastes, which is Kohelet, the preacher, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Okay, we're talking about things that predate the beginnings of things. What about the end of things? It says the whole matter, the end of the whole matter of our lives, the conclusion, the whole purpose is to fear Elohim, keep his commandments, for this is man's all. This is his purpose. This is why he is. And we look at Isaiah 44, verse 2, and also verse 24. Thus says Yahuwah, who made you and formed you from the womb. Who will help you? Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and you, Yeshurun, whom I have chosen. Thus says Yahuwah, your Redeemer, and he who formed you from the womb. I am Yahuwah who makes all things, who stretches out the heavens, all alone, by himself, doesn't need any help, who spreads out the earth by himself. The straight and upright one is who Yeshurun is. And we are called that in faithfulness, not in stumbling. But when we are, there's some days when things just all come together and we acknowledge it in ourselves. Everything I set out to do today, I did. It's not impossible. If we just gain a little bit more momentum and control of our lives, we think that it's natural for man to be spinning out of control in chaotic fashion. And it's not. Yah has given us a perfect set of order. That we keep it and we observe it. We assimilate it into us. Just like you are what you eat. That's why the pink flamingo is pink, because it eats red krill. If you take that away from its diet, they stay white. They're white. They don't turn pink. So when we eat treif, we become essentially unclean, unhealthy beings. But when we eat what is approved and we behave in an approved fashion, it becomes part of our spiritual DNA. It becomes natural. Even as Yochanan says in this first letter, right? He says, we have his seed in us, and we don't sin because we can't sin, because his seed is in us. My father's long gone, but and the word in the Greek is sperma. When our parents die, they don't take their sperm with them. They don't take their contributing DNA strand that helped form that zygote that was in my mother's, formed in the placenta in my mother's womb. Can't take it away. So Messiah is, we are born from above, born from the place where he is. we have his seed in us if we are spiritually born, and ultimately physically born, because that which is of the Ruach is the ultimate reality. When we are born of the eternal Ruach to always live, to be like he is, because we will see him as he is. So all these things we need to consider, and don't cut yourself short for anything. I want to read two more quick ones. Let's see. Isaiah 49:5. And now Yahuwah says, who formed me in the womb, to be his Eved, his servant, to bring Jacob back to him, so that Israel is gathered to him. For it shall be glorious in the eyes of Yahuwah, and my Elohim shall be my strength. So rise up the 12 tribes and restore the preserved ones of Israel. Verse 6. Jeremiah 1:5. I'm going to stop there. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you.
Yes.
He set us apart. He ordained that you be a prophet and Navi to the nations, which feeds into what you were saying about all of us. Before we were, he knew us. And that's truly is an awesome thought.
Indeed.
What can compare to that? What can be compared to that? It's just beyond us, as it should be. We should never think in colloquial terms who Yah is in our lives, and thereby cheapen his purposes for us. And it's just amazing, and to think of this whole process, and from the womb and the tomb, like you're saying, he knows our inner being, our bones are the supporting structure. It reminded me of one of my favorite filmmakers when I was a kid is Ray Harryhausen, and he's the one who made all of those movies where there was the elaborate creatures, whether he was doing Jason and the Argonauts or whether he was doing the Voyages of Sinbad. He made all these wonderful stop motion puppets that would be filmed 24 frames per second. He would do this all by himself, but the creatures were all these rubberized, but there was an armature within that helped them to hold their position as they were shaped. So when you put them all together, there's movement, just like the original animation, cell animation, 24 per second. Each one had to be exactly in the progress of the movement, because animation is art coming to life. Animation. To think of it, all these drawings coming together. And I remember reading when Disney was saying he's coming out with the first full-length animated movie, I was kind of laughing at him, because animation was always these cute little bouncy things. But when they saw Snow White when it first came out, all the artists that were involved in it were all masters. Like we talked, Herman, you talked about the artists who created the things in the tabernacle and so on. But these are all, he took all of the best background painters. He took all the greatest fluid animators, and it's an amazing work. And I don't think that early Disney stuff is touched today, even with all the computer animation. I think the original cell animation, because it was fearfully and wonderfully and intricately made, seriously, by these artisans who knew what they were doing. They were called the 9 Old Men. They formed the foundation of his animation studio. So again, that armature has to be there for those to hold the shapes. Otherwise, it would just kind of collapse. And the repetition that builds, we get bored. We get bored. Not everyone has that kind of patience to create that type of art, where you just slightly doing, okay, I'm doing this drawing. Now I'm going to do this drawing, but just slightly this much thing. And this one, because his hand is waving, I'm going to have to make sure that I make that wave. I couldn't do it. I would never have the patience to do that. I love art, and I used to be an illustrator, but I always loved the great artisans of animation. And we are animated forms. We are a lump of clay, as our brother Gilbert's always reminded us. I'm but a lump of clay in your hands, Father. And it reminds us of our humble beginnings, but he generates us and he animates us. Amen. That we're actively moving and behaving like our Creator. Because one of the other things that he's the best at, he's the greatest of the potters. He creates us, and he smelts us in the gold, and he refines the gold until it's like a mirror, and he can see himself and his reflection in us. And so that's the goal at which the Torah aims, who is Messiah, the example that we should all follow and not be intimidated that we had a bad day. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. Tomorrow's going to be better. You're going to respond better. You're going to do better. You're going to overcome the challenges that we might not have been so great with today. Because he wants us to be a complete, perfect people who are capable of doing what we set out to do, and not just saying, "Well, I'm only human." That's never in his estimation of us. He never says, "Well, come on, give Herman a break." He said, "He's only human." No, he's not. He's been birthed into the next level of the process. And I just see something from Hank here.
Yeah,
Ephesians,
Hank wrote something there.
okay, from Ephesians 4, 9, and 10.
Right.
Notice that it says he ascended. This clearly means that Messiah also descended to the lowly world, and the same one who descended is the same one ascended higher than all the heavens. Amen. 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 Good. Tov, tov, tov.
Yes.
So, what have you had to add to that, sir? I'm talked out. Otherwise, I'll just be talking for the
No,
next
no, I have
2 hours.
nothing to add. I just got to say that he is the embroiderer of embroiderers. He is the potter of potters, King of kings, and Lord of lords. You can't beat him. He's the best.
He is. He is.
He's the best.
And
And
yet,
I also, yes, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and once we have him, or when we don't have him, he has us. We
Amen.
still, in our weakness, if we're not careful, we still stray. We could have married the most beautiful woman in the world, and who loves us so much, and yet, if we're still carnally minded, we're still going to stray. Man needs to be restrained. Man needs to be restrained, and Yah is the only one who can do it efficiently, where we are accountable for our behavior, that men continue to act like men and gentlemen at that, and focus on what they need to do, be the provider and the protector of the family, and be the strength, be the Kohen, the priest of the household, and that we know who we are. We're not confused.
Yes. So, Bob, what I would like to do, since we still have a few minutes left, I would like to, of course, invite the audience to come back, because next week we're going to be touching on verse 16. And with your permission, I'd like to read that verse 16 as a preview, okay? So, in the complete Jewish Bible, we did 15. My bones were not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Now, 16 for next week, folks. Your eyes could see me as an embryo, reading from the complete Jewish Bible. But in your book, all my days were already written. My days had been shaped before any of them existed. So, talking about existing in his mind, the days of our lives, the time, it existed in his mind before it was materialized in this realm.
Ugh.
Amazing.
It's definitely amazing. Definitely tov, tov, tov.
Yes, so that's verse 16 for next week.
Amen. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, brother, man.
Yes.
And Patricia, are you there?
Yes.
All right.
Right.
You know, we need you to come in from the bullpen and finish this game off, okay? And then say a final prayer if you would.
And how? Yes.
Our Father and King, blessed art thou, Creator of heaven and the earth. We honor you for who you are. Bless each family this month. We are thankful that we can come together and open up your scriptures and study them. We thank you that we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
For the well-versed leaders that instruct us. Bless each family here and protect us. To Yeshua, all glory, honor, and praise. In Yeshua's name we pray.
Amen.
And amen.
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 Thank you, brethren. Thank you so much. Thank you for Hank and for William and all of you else who might be out there and who's going to check us out later at a later time. Please do so and keep up with us. Keep up with us. And if you come on, you can add your comments, and you got some questions or whatever. We want to make sure this is inclusive and not just whatever. I don't know. So we thank you again, and we will be here again on Shabbat morning at 11 a.m. And next Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. we will be here, Yah willing, to continue in this epic journey through this wonderful song, this great song. The song continues. To coin the phrase, the song remains the same, which is eternal, which is wonderful, which is no need to add to or subtract from. So we say, Laila Tov u'lehitraot, and we're grateful. We're grateful for all those who would, and we thank you for your encouragement. I thank you for that, Hank. And we thrive on being encouraging to each other, supporting each other.
Amen.
And freely we've been given, freely we give. And so we just want to keep that going and pay that forward. And again, Yah loves you, and be strong. We are more than conquerors, and we're learning so much about ourselves as we proceed through this psalm. So be because he fearfully put you together. You are unique among anyone that has ever lived before. Your DNA reflects that truth. And this psalm reminds us that we are absolutely irreplaceable. Irreplaceable. So again, we say Toda Rabah, we say thank you very much. And we say Laila Tov u'lehitraot, we say good night. And we will see you soon. We'll check you out down the road a little bit, okay? So again, good night, and shalom.
Good night. Shalom.
Oh, man. Shalom, Hank and William.